Hello and welcome to Wrestling and Everything Coast to Coast with your host, Buddy Sotelo Esquire and the effervescent Evan Ginsberg. But today we have a very special guest coming all the way back from many years ago from Pro Wrestling Iron, my pal and fellow wrestler and really excellent talent, a guy by the name of Vito Tomaselli. Thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Wow, as I said, I haven't talked to you. When I last saw you, it was with Pro Wrestling Iron. We were probably over in Hayward, California. And so let's just sum this up and just say, what have you been doing for the last 20 years?
Yeah, I think I had my last show there in, I think it was 2004. Yeah, maybe even around this same time. I think it was Sal and I against Big Ugly and Vinny may have been our last match. We had a student show. There was like a student show, I think was our last one that we had there. But yeah, it's been 20 years. I mean, I've been up to almost everything. I mean, I don't even know where to start. I'm no longer in the wrestling industry. I got out in 2013. I quit. But before all that, I got to do a lot of fun stuff. Iron gave me a great foundation. You know, it just wasn't, at the time they were falling apart. The wheels were falling off. You know, we all know it ended up falling off anyway, so I'm not talking out of turn. But we left before the wheels fell off and went to Atlanta and worked with Bill Behrens. And so we took our Japanese strong style combined with like a very old school way of doing TV, which I think we needed at the time too, and was a big help. So Iron was great, but it was a good starting point for us.
So tell me just quickly how you got started in wrestling, period. How did it all start for you?
I went to high school with a guy named Mike Webb, and he was a wrestler. And this is 90. When he was a wrestler, I think I found out like in 97 or so, or 98. And at this time, there's really next to no internet. I mean, it existed, but it wasn't what it is today. And you had to order this little white pamphlet. It was How to Be a Pro Wrestler by Piercy Pringle, which when I ordered it, I didn't even know that was Paul Bear's. I didn't know that was even Paul Bear. So that's how the business was so hidden back then. I remember I called whatever number I called. There was like 10 schools in the back, and I called one of the numbers. And I was young, 16, 17, and right away the guy tried to come in and make a down payment. And I mean, I wasn't even out of high school yet, you know, but I thought that I was in the business already. It was great. So yeah, it started with that. I didn't get anywhere with that. And then Mike came in. He had graduated and then he came back, I don't know, see a teacher or something, I don't know. And he was like touting the wrestling business, and he was a big wrestler now. And so of course I started picking his brain, and he brought me to Sonny Rogers School in Chicago. October of 99.
But how did you wind up in Hayward?
Donovan and Mike were booked. Mainly Donovan was booked for this guy named Brian Zenner, MCW. So I was on all those shows. And Donovan and I just hit it off. And this is before he'd even been to Japan. And so it really comes down to when you meet people, you know, in the industry. And I met him at that time, and him and Mike go to Japan. I think they were there maybe a year, maybe half a year. And the opportunity presented itself for them to leave APW and open up Iron. So at that time, I was just staying in contact with him. And then a couple tours later, he ends up coming back to MCW. And he was like a totally different guy. Way more polished, way more pro, bigger. His gear was better, like everything about him. And I was like, and to me, it was like a weekend of time. It wasn't that much time that had passed. And I just remember going like, oh, there's the path. Because there wasn't a path like there is today, you know? So I saw a path, you know, with him. And so I followed him. He opened Iron, and I was the first guy to come over from any other place that was already trained to come on board. And it was the best decision of my life. It changed my life. I still talk to him to this day. He's one of my best friends. So it's, we've been friends for 20 plus years.
What do you consider some of your career highlights?
Oh, man, it's weird with me. A lot of wrestlers will talk about their WrestleMania moment or their bigger moments. I didn't make it to any major stage, you know. So for me, it was the lessons I learned that I got to take with me today, you know. So like when I went through corporate America. I own my own business now, you know. But there's aspects of all that when you run into certain people and they communicate with you a certain way. And if you had any kind of success at all on any level of the wrestling business, and I don't just mean matches, but on the business, no one can mess with you in the real world. They just can't. I mean, we see stuff coming so far away. So I would say my main highlights for me was being able to pick the brains of real wrestlers that did this, you know. And one that stands out to me is like, I know it's kind of weird to say it for the first one, but Steve Carino in PWG in 2003. Sal and I were tagging for a couple of months at this point, or I don't know, maybe a little longer. And we thought we were great, you know, tag team stuff, matching trunks. And we come in the back. We thought we had a great match, and he was standing there because he was on next, you know. And he just said, he goes, "Hey, you guys mind if I tell you something?" Please, you know, he goes, everything. He goes, as a tag team, the very first time you guys tag in, he goes, don't you think it's important that they see a tag team move? And we just kind of sat down. We aren't even through the curtain. I mean, we're in the, and we're like, okay. He goes, I'll be right back. And he walks out and he has his match, And so Sal and I sat in the locker room and we just sat there and we went, yeah, okay, fine. So he came back and now we sat there and picked his brain for, I don't know, maybe a half hour. And he just laid down tag team wrestling about it's not, you aren't two people, you're one person. So every time you have the ability to be one person, you have to be one person, even if that's just a send off and a double elbow. Send off one guy pot shots, one guy bulldogs. I mean, there has to be some kind of synergy because you're not just tagging in to do your pretty stuff. You're tagging in to show that you guys are a tag team, and we're just like, exploded. And then we started taking all the moves that were single moves and turning them into tag team moves because it just made so much sense to us, And so I would say stuff like that. Too Cold Scorpio, 2007. We're at Pro Wrestling. What was that called? Pro Wrestling Elite. And he had nothing but time for us because we were trained by Donovan and Mike, and he has that Noah connection, too. And we'd done several shows at that point too. So he just started teaching us more about, as we're being a lead team, how to be a lead team. And there are certain aspects that you have to do to be a lead team. And the main point of contact was knowing how to take guys through matches and put their stuff into your stuff and make it seem seamless. And we learned a lot of that from him. So that's not like a one-off thing to explain, but I didn't have big moments. I had moments backstage that 14-year-old me really marked out to and learned so much about life.
Oh, that's pretty great. Can you tell me about some of the experiences that you had in Pro Wrestling Iron? Did you work any shows? Were you on the show that we had with Misawa?
Yeah, we were. I was going to be in that tag match, but Sal got put in there because I was in a little bit of trouble because Donovan was mad at me at that point. I think I was being a jerk. We just like to rib people, and we were also on our way out as well too. So I just missed a big opportunity there because of my attitude. I was definitely looking back now. But I was on those shows and I got to work. Oh man, I'm so embarrassed I don't remember his name. We worked night 2 and we had an awesome match. And I can't think of his name, and it's gonna kill me because he's a great dude. Long and the short, I worked both of those nights. The first night, I don't remember what I worked in, but the second night I got to work that. But my main memory of Iron was working with Crash Holly. He had just got off TV. He was Donovan's really good buddy, So when he came to town, they put him with Hook Bomberry, and then Sal and I got to work with them. I think we worked with them twice, and he only had 3 or 4 matches with us anyway, but that was another one where he took us through television tag team wrestling. It's different when you have to hit certain cues, and it's different when there's only certain things you're going to do to get over. So if you're only going to do these certain things, you got to rethink how you're going to get into those things to make those really important. And that's what I mean by we got to learn by some of the best at the times when they were just coming fresh out of things. So that's my biggest memory from there. One was meeting Sal, but 2, being able to work with Crash Holly. And then another one would be the UK Kid. We had another a great match. From my recollection, we did about 30 minutes or so. At that time, I wasn't even able to do 30 minutes. So, Iron taught me how to work.
Yeah, well, you taught us all how to work because it was such a the first time the Bay Area had ever seen a Fed that was really run by the talent itself and not by a pure promoter who hadn't done any wrestling ever in their lives.
They had a little more money and they had like a money guy running it, like a real money guy running that organization. They would have been Ring of Honor first. The problem is that they were on the West Coast, and that's a black hole. To this day, it's a black hole to me. It's stuff happens there, but it happens like in dreams.
I'm trying the best I can. So
this is the problem. You have nothing to the west of you, right? So everyone has to come to you, and that makes it just difficult, and really those neighboring states. Don't shoot me, guys. There's not great wrestling going on there either. So then there's Middle America, and then you have all the other wrestlers. So they all just stay on that side of the country because it's just easier to make those dates.
I would debate just the fact that Portland has a tremendous scene going on. Portland does, and Las Vegas, the Nevada scene is pretty good. But outside of that, on the West, there isn't very much. And
there's a lot of land that covers that there's nothing really going on. There's feds and there's stuff happening, but it doesn't connect. So I think that's why California kind of loses out in the end.
That's interesting. I haven't really heard someone take that perspective before.
That's why we left, because we're like, our name was falling apart. No one knew us and no one was hearing about us. We went to Wildside. We did our tag team move on Wildside TV, and then we started getting booked everywhere. like every single place we get booked at. And we're like, oh, we should have done this a year ago. Yeah, it's just first off, as a tag team too. I don't mean to harp on this, but that's 2 airline tickets. It's not one. It's 2 paydays. You know, it's an expensive ticket. Even as a male manager, I think Russ, you were a male manager at Parks, right? You know, it's hard to get booked as a male manager because they're like, do we really need a manager? We can just bring.
Oh, well, nobody ever paid me anything, so that's how I got booked. If you don't expect a payday, they're a lot more amenable to letting you work the show. So
I wouldn't do that without a payday, and I would never ask anybody to work for free. But I know what you're saying. You have to do it to get over where you got to get over with. But yeah, it's
well, and I did a lot of stuff behind the scenes, especially at APW and at Pro Wrestling Iron. I was doing stuff, you know, for the back office, doing legal stuff for them. So it was a different sort of, you know, association with them.
So we heard. That's purely speculation.
Yes. But did you work at all with Tony Jones?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
No, he was already kind of gone from the business at that point. He would come and do shows periodically. And then I want to say there was a small chunk where he may have come in like on a Friday or something and worked this a little bit. But he was already kind of doing his own thing.
Yeah, well, yeah. So did you get a chance to travel to Japan?
No, my roommate was Corey, Tommy Drake, and Tommy went there and messed it all up for all of us. So nobody got to go after him.
What happened there? I don't actually know the story.
All right, so Corey, I love Corey, by the way, I learned.
I managed him once. I know him. I know him.
I learned a lot about life from him. He was my roommate for a long time as well too. So I'm definitely not talking out of turn. I would tell him this if he was sitting here. But Corey went there. I believe he went there at like 260 pounds, and he came home at like 220 pounds like 5 weeks later because he went there all motivated. He couldn't wait to get there. Did all the right stuff, and then he got there, and he was a legend already. He just worked the matches, went back to his room, went on the bus, worked the matches, went back to his room. And they don't tell you what to do there. They don't say, hey, you should come down and do this. Hey, you should come down and be a part of this. Or hey, you should come down and be in the ring right now. And he didn't do any of that. So the last tour, his very last match was against Riccio. Bell rang. It was a slap across the face on a clothesline. And then he told him not to get up and pinned him. And that was his last match in Japan. He wasn't invited back. You know, so none of us were invited back at that point. And then Harley jumped over, or then they made the deal with Harley. And that's when all his guys started going. Superstar Steve, Matt Murphy. You know, that class they inked a better deal. That's also where all the money disappeared, and then all the Ring of Honor guys flew themselves over, and that killed the house and killed Japan for all of us white guys.
Interesting. I didn't know that that's when things kind of went south. And I still, but what did I mean? He just didn't work hard enough, or what was their overall take to why they didn't want him?
One song was Japan. He did it.
Yeah.
When that should have been his starting point. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We got there. Again, they don't tell you, hey, you're brand new here. Come down here and do squats. They don't tell you that. But if you did that at his size and his already natural ability, they would have loved it. They would have signed him. But he didn't do any of that. So they think that he's, again, I can't speak for Noah. I'm just telling you what the feedback we got after the fact, that he treated it like he was already, like he should have been there instead of he was thankful to do that.
Did you get to work any matches with Mark Smith?
I did. Yeah, I actually knocked him clear off his feet, and he always put me over for that because how small I was. I was really small at the time too, and he wasn't ready. His feet were kind of wonky, and I ran at him because I trained with him in practice, so I just blasted him. He was like a big teddy bear. He beat the shit out of him, and it didn't faze him at all. And I gave him a big running knee, and I hit him real hard right inside of his head. It was a 6-man with Damian Dollars and somebody else, Sal and I and Vinny. And I can clear off his feet. We were really good friends. We go to the bar together. We would hang out periodically outside of the industry together. He'd spend the night at my house, for weekend trips back and forth. What we were doing, yeah, really love that dude and really miss to this day. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we do a tribute show to him every year because, he meant a lot to me, and I managed him both for and against him in Pro Wrestling Iron. He was really an amazing guy. Evan, do you have some questions for?
Sure.
Can I say one thing about him?
Yeah, please.
10 years in front, if he would have been around, let's say when NXT started, he would have been 4 or 5 times bigger than everybody else that they were hiring. He would have been a megastar.
I agree.
Mega star. There's no one. Tell me in the history of this business, someone that looks like him. Forget the hair and I don't mean like that. His body. His body look. He was like when you look at Brock Lesnar. No one looks like Brock Lesnar, right? Same thing with Mark. No one looks like that dude. So he missed the opportunity Z came around during that weird OVW run of guys, you know, and it didn't really, the industry wasn't really fighting for guys like they were today. And a few more years later, I think there would have been a bidding war, would have been a huge bidding war for Mark.
I think he would have too. Evan, what questions do you have?
I saw Bison Smith live with Ring of Honor a few times in New York, and I was very impressed. And huge guy and a tremendous talent. And I totally agree. Sometimes it's a very tough business, right place at the right time, or too early, like Vito said. So Vito, I know many indie wrestlers who at age 30, 40, 50, even 60, they come back. Come back. And sometimes it's as a manager, sometimes it's as a promoter, whatever the case may be. You made it, when we introduced you earlier in the show, you said, you walked away. So, why? Because a lot of people, they never get it out of their blood.
I call it a puzzle piece. So it's like a part of me, and there's always so at the time, I'm 5'8", okay? And I'm not stupid. I would get opportunities in bigger places, and the right people would just tell me, I got nothing for you. And you could pivot and make changes. All that's fine. But to me, I think there's more for me in life. This isn't it, and I don't think I had the wherewithal to do like backstage stuff or a runner of sorts. I wanted a family. I really wanted to get married, and I wanted a family. I was seeing somebody at the time. And I thought it was the right move for me. And it was just time to get out. I was with Insane Clown Posse for 5 years, and I saw everything with that, and they treated me great. I got paid really well. We did red carpet events. Like we toured the country in tour buses. I thought I got my fill, and I got out. This is 2013. 2018, I go through a divorce. 2019, I'm getting in better shape. And at that point, WWE called a friend of mine, and he had an in to do a spot. They said, just bring people. Well, he ran out of people, so he brought me. And I hadn't worked in a long time. So I went back there, and I looked like a referee, so they let me do a little spot with Ronda Rousey. This is 2019. The next day, again, I quit in 2013. The next day, Bile and Jay calls for the booking for the 20th anniversary of The Gathering. And they're like, you want to do it? And again, I hadn't wrestled in a long time at this point. And I'm like, well, you know what? For something like that, I would love to do it. Right. So, but now from that time on, I'm drinking real heavy. I don't drink anymore. I quit 4 years ago. But at this time, I'm an alcoholic. So I'm in decent enough shape. I feel really good about myself. And this next 4 months until that gathering, I think it's in August, and this is in March. So that time, I put on like 45 pounds, and not in a good way. Yeah, and not in a good way. My arms get smaller, my shoulder gets smaller, my belly gets bigger. And I went from feeling this great to shit. And then to be in that environment and put on matches together, then do what we went to do out there, and then get in the back. I felt. Remember how Shawn Michaels talks about his last match? That's how I felt. Where I just felt like this. Why did I do that? Why did I do that? The mark in me made me do that. And I didn't prepare. So then in 2022. A friend passed, and they were doing a memorial show for him. And now I quit drinking completely. I gotten in great shape, and I stayed in great shape, and I felt in great shape. I was mentally healthy. So I wrestled then, and I say that's my last match. But if you presented me with an opportunity, and everything made sense, I would love to do it. I love professional wrestling, but I don't fiend for it anymore. That puzzle piece is filled with other stuff now. I look back fondly of it, and I took everything from it, and I'm still kind of doing the wrestling business in my mind.
Do you mind telling us about your battle with alcoholism and how you were able to fight the demons in the bottle?
Yeah, I have an addictive personality with anything, and I've never gotten into like cocaine or heroin. Those things always scared me. I didn't, care about them too much. I loved weed, that was never an issue. And even alcohol, I would drink it when we went out. I love sushi, so I would drink like, sake and whatnot, or Long Island iced teas. I would smash those. But then I go home and I never think about it, until the next time we went out to dinner or something, Going through a divorce put me in a spin, in a downspin. And at the time, I live in Illinois, I still do. But at the time, marijuana wasn't legal, and I thought she would use that as a thing so I couldn't smoke. Marijuana, it just rounds off my corners. I don't really get that high off of it. It's a daily activity for me. It just kind of it just chills me out a little bit, you know. And I didn't have that anymore. And so one night I was upstairs. I'm living in my 4th bedroom at this point, which I don't know if I've ever stepped in it within the 2 years I lived here. Now I'm living in it on a little twin bed. It's unreal. So I'm sitting in this room and I come downstairs. I'll eat the carpet if I knew it would give me a little buzz. I just wanted a break, you know. So I go in the kitchen. I open the fridge. What's in the fridge? Nothing. Close it up. I open it up and I see a bottle of tequila in there, like a little like a you know,
the airline bottle.
Yeah, right. So okay, I take that out and I had like some lemon juice and something else, some sugar. So I made like what would be like a margarita. And I got upstairs. I'm in this little bed and I remember I had a laptop. And I start drinking, and 25 minutes later, 35 minutes later, I had this thing, this knot in my chest, which I later found out was anxiety. But at this point in life, I didn't know what that was. It was gone. And not only gone, I noticed it was gone. And I was like, wow, okay, that's great. And then I went, oh, okay, great. Okay, now I just do this every day. And I just started doing it every day, you know. And everyone around you is like, hey, do what you got to do. You're going through a rough time. And I'll say this, alcohol at that point saved my life. Not that I would have hurt myself, but I was getting reckless, you know, and I was sad. And I think when you're sad and you're reckless, like you fall to the bottom in a really weird way, you know. So for me, and I'll share this, I have no problem sharing this. My rock bottom for me, I was drinking a handle of tequila every day and a half, 2 days, smashing it. And I would do it where I would have this big shot glass. It was like a 2-shot shot glass. And I'd fill it like 3/4 of the way up. And then the other quarter of the way up, I'd fill with ginger beer. And I called them the Art of War shots because I was reading that book by Sun Tzu, and I just thought it was in my mind and you got to realize this is like, you know, this is these riots are going on out there by you guys. The world's falling apart. This is like 2020, so like COVID's happening, like, and I'm in a
how this program got started. Evan and I were stuck inside all day long, 24 hours a day. Evan lives in a 1-room apartment. I'm here in my house, but I have my twins and my wife, and it was turning out like The Shining because we couldn't go anywhere or do anything. And this program started, this podcast started. We just said we got to do something with our time that we're stuck in with each other, and that's how this started maybe about 2 weeks after the quarantine occurred. So yes, things did happen during that time. We understand. So continue.
Yeah, just a weird time, and I thought the world was kind of falling apart around me, you know. And you start making excuses, and I'll say this too: work-wise, employment-wise, I'm working in corporate America, and I'm killing it. I'm making more money than I've ever made because of what I was doing was I just had to be on the phone, so I would just stay home and I'd be on the phone, and I was doing great at it. So again, I think when you have that, you can lie to yourself some more, you know, as well as I'm doing great. I get up this one morning and I go to get in the shower, and I would do this thing where I was so hot sometimes I'd wake up and the water, I'd put a cold shower on, and the water would hit my head and run down my back. And by the time it would trickle to like my butt cheeks or like the back of my legs, it was just as warm as my body. That's how hot I was. So like, and I noticed that this same day, and I vomited. And again, I'm like, oh, that's okay. That's not normal. Fine. Shower, brush my teeth. I get out. My son's laying in my bed. He's a little over 2 at this point. So he's already iPadding it, you know, watching Netflix. I mean, whatever we were doing. So I lay in my bed, put my arm out like this. He lays in my arm, and I blink once, I blink twice, and I wake up and no one's in my house. And my dog, I have a pit bull. He's barking at me. Rah, 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 rah. And I'm like, what is? And I'm like, I don't even know what's going on. And I didn't drink this day. My body quit this day. Like I was just done. I was toast, and I was done. Right. So once I wrapped my brain around what just took place and what's going on, I shut my dog up. He was just trying to get me up. I grabbed my phone, and it's my ex. Let me in. Where are you? What's going on? Get these kids outside. And now I don't even know again what I'm reading. And I'm going, okay, so my kids got to be safe. Are they safe? And then finally it was like, you know, F you. I got the kids. You know, something, whatever it was. So I now go into panic mode. I start texting her, what happened? She's like, I don't know. It was a mess, right? So now I'm at the bottom, and I start drinking. So this is a Friday night, and it's about 10:30 at night, and my buddy Matt calls me, and he goes, hey, I'm 10 minutes away, and he lives like 2 hours from me, and a Friday night, and he has little kids and a wife, and he shouldn't be out. I'm like, okay, why? You know, he's like, I'm going to talk to you. So again, he knocks on my door, and for 6 hours, I just sat there and kind of told him where I'm at, who I am, what I want, you know, what I don't want, you know, how I'm hurt, how I wish someone would just listen to me. how I tried to get help. And if you're not religious, you can't really find help unless you're religious, because all those help systems tie back to some form of that, and I was just puking out sadness, and he sat there and listened to me. And that next day, I mean, I went to sleep. I woke up, I had still like a half a bottle left. I poured it out, and that was July 10th of 2020. And I never drank it again. And for me, it's not the booze. I could drink tomorrow. It's the depression, and I also think it's how good I was living with it publicly, but not at all physically, and I think how much I saw my body go up 40. I got to 242 pounds. I'm 175 today. I got down to 152 during all my weight loss, which was the next part of the journey, which I don't want to jump too fast ahead. But yeah, it wasn't my rock bottom. I think I could have fallen way worse. I could have hurt somebody else. I could have hurt myself. My kids could have got hurt that day. None of that happened. But what I had, that was a turning point for me. So.
Wow, that's an incredible journey. But do you want to continue on explaining about how you were able to get the weight loss done? And you look good now. I mean, you look really good now. So how did you do the next level of transformation for yourself?
Yeah, the first part was just, I think I had to love myself again. I know it sounds weird, like you always hear people tell you that, or, but for years I looked in the mirror. I was in great shape. I was tan. I think I'm a good looking person. I was never without, some type of girlfriend or even just friends that liked me, and this time in life I was alone, and I felt alone, but I also, I call it going dark, because I talk to a lot of guys now that are going through a lot of these things, and there's a part in your divorce process that you have to go dark. You got to get off social media. You got to get away from your friends. You got to get away from your family, and not in a bad, but you got to isolate a little bit. You got to know, you got to feel, so that this never happens to you again, and you got to make sure that you understand all parts of it, but you also got to understand your role in it. Even if let's say that you don't have any fault at all, you have some, so that is found during those hours. So that first year post drinking, I didn't touch any weights. I just would get up every day and I'd walk. And if I felt weird or I felt goofy or I didn't like my day, I just would walk. And I'd walk and I'd walk and I'd walk. And a couple months into this, I got a dog because I just wanted someone to walk with, and he was a rescue dog. And he was a real shit dog. He was a bite dog, but I got him trained. And we run 4 to 7 miles a day.
See the pit that you're talking about?
Yeah.
I have a pit that I rescued too. So I'm a big pit.
Yeah, they're like people, and he's something else. And he's been all over the country with me now at this point. Cause I do everywhere I go now work wise. He comes with me, besides BKFC stuff. I wish I could take him to those, but it's like, once I got him, I had a different responsibility, and part of me with the divorce, I felt part of my sadness was I wasn't going to be a full-time dad, and with him, with Gable, with his dog, I felt was responsible to this thing every single day. And that was helpful to me, to get up every day, feed him, walk him. And it got to the point where him and I were so militant about walking that the minute my feet hit the floor, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, boom, boom, he was run down and he'd sit right by the leash and just sit there and wait. And he's military trained. So he's quiet, he's like methodical, and we go, and every single mile I ran, every weight loss journey step that I took, he took it with me. And we miles upon miles. I do ops course races now, and the one I came back, the first time I did them, it took me 6 hours to do 8 miles. A long time.
6 hours.
I didn't even know what I was doing. I didn't know what the hell I was even showing up for. And
wow.
So I walked a lot of it, but I walked with a buddy of mine. We shot the shit, and that's what it turned out to be. 2 years later, it was 12 miles. And I did it in 11 minutes and 58 seconds per mile on average.
Wow.
I crushed it. And I remember I came home and I hugged him and I thanked him. It was like, we did it. We fucking did it. So that whole journey took about 2 years. No booze. The first year, figuring out food, intermittent fasting, walking, loving myself again. And then I started training with weights, and then that came easy because my body already had it in it, and I wasn't doing too much at once. And then I just kept compounding it. And I start every day about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, every day still, because those are my hours, and ever since then, my life has changed exponentially that I'm a complete different person today. And I have all these opportunities in front of me that I never had before.
Wow. Evan, bring up any questions for him?
Yeah, please tell us about your business.
Sure. So It's construction. It's nothing really to brag too crazy about, but it's commercial construction, basically demo work. And I found the right guy that's looking for the sub aspects of that out. So now we have something going on in Indiana, a little north of Indiana, in Noblesville. Something is going to be starting pretty soon too, possibly, that I'm hearing about. And it's all through my cousin. So pretty helpful, and with it, I have a lot more freedom. I've sold a bunch of construction jobs over my life, and you see the money coming in and they pay the 10% for selling it, but you see the back end and you know how much it actually takes. So construction is interesting to me. I'm 43 years old now. I've been in it since I was roughly about 18 years old, 19 years old. And it's finally paying off in a different way. So, yeah.
Now, I also noticed on your profile, you have a connection with the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. You want to explain that a little bit? I don't know anything about the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, so maybe you could explain all of that to our listeners.
Of course. Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships, BKFC for short. It's exactly what it is, bare knuckle. So it's taped 1 inch below the hands. The hands are still taped, but there's 1 inch below the knuckles themselves. And it's just straight hand-to-hand combat. There's no kicking. There's no elbows. There's no Superman punches. You can't even get that interesting. It's just punching or pawing. No wrestling, none of that nonsense. So we took away all the disciplines and added just the one that's really simple and fast. There's 5 rounds and they're 2 minutes each. So we're different than what I would consider MMA, and we're not boxing. Everyone thinks we're boxing. We're not boxing. It's fighting. It's professional fighting. And it's really easy. In 2008, 2009, UFC blew up, and you'd have all these parties and people would come over and watch it. You didn't have to know anything about it. You just watch it. It was knockout after knockout. It was fun. That's what this is like. So I call it's like the ECW of mixed martial arts, because we can have the veterans come in and they can have super fights and no one bats an eye at it. We have our own stars that no one knows just yet in some ways, but once they do, they fall in love with them. And then we have the legends again that have come over and now are fighting. So it's an interesting time. I started with them last September, and they've gone from it's a whole different company by now. Conor McGregor's part owner at this point too. So we're on a world stage. So I do operations for them. So week of, I'm local wherever they're at, picking people up back and forth from the airport, doing those runs, office people, fighters, and then during the week that same stuff too. What's really neat, I have a lot of downtime. If I'm there 5 days, 3.5 days, I have nothing to do, and they tell us to go out and have fun. So they support us going out and sightseeing, going out and doing something. When I wrestled, I never had that opportunity. We'd drive to Philly or fly to Philly, we'd do the show, and we'd come home. Not get to see nothing, Now I have all this free time, so I document a lot of that. I post a lot of it, online when I'm out too. So night of the show, though, I actually work the red corner. The way our ropes work, they're metal, and the middle one moves up and down. So you're able to let someone in and out. So somebody representing BKFC has to let somebody out of the red corner each time, every round something's happening. So I'm in on the action. I have the best seat in the house. I see every single thing. I then see the fighter directly in the corner when stuff's happening. I hear the calls before it even happens. Like, I'm a sycophant now because I just get to be up close and I study it. So that puzzle piece, remember I talked about that puzzle piece earlier? This fills it in a weird way where I don't have that missing anymore. I don't have that what if. So kind of, Evan, like you were saying, like, is there ever that what if? Like, I don't have that fantasy anymore because this weekend I'm going to be in Sturgis in the same place WCW ran Hog Wild and Road Wild, only we're going to be there this time. I'm going to be in the red corner, which means I could turn out and see the crowd, and 16-year-old me can pretend to be in a WCW ring for half a second and see the bikers, and I get to be at Road Wild.
My cousins have been to Sturgis. They I can tell you the crowd at Sturgis is going to really love the bare knuckle fighting stuff.
And our main event is Taylor versus Brittany. It's Britain, sorry, I always screw her name up. These two girls are going to beat the shit out of each other in front of these bikers, and it's going to be incredible. They are, I don't know, two of our, I think, biggest influencer girls, but they go on there and bang. You can't have a bad fight here. So I think it's going to be bloody, and I think it's going to be something these bikers have never seen before. So it's a super exciting time. We're going to be in Spain later this year as well. Just a bunch of shows coming up. I've flown 25,000 miles for them already. So I only know that because my United app. It's such a unique experience, and I feel like I'm on the road with a wrestling company.
Yeah,
go ahead. I've been a boxing fan for 50 years, and I have friends in the industry. I who have reached certain levels, trainers and cut men. My first question would be, how safety conscious are the people in your industry? Because in boxing, people have died in the ring. It's no joke.
Yeah, well, I would tell you this much. Ours is safer than any sport you've ever seen. I'm explaining to you why that is. One, with your hands, you got to be really careful how hard you hit, because you hit too hard, your knuckles are screwed. You're screwed. There's nothing else you can do there. You have no other artillery. So you can go out there and swing for the fences, and people do. Don't get me wrong, people do. But it's not. It doesn't work that way. Also, in what we do, if a boxer takes a knee, or if a fighter takes a knee, now you have me talking boxing terms. If a fighter takes a knee, it's an automatic standing 8 count. So it's not like UFC where they get pounded to death, right? Same thing. If you hit the guy and he hits the ground, you got to back up and he gets a standing 8 count. So it's safer. It's totally safer. And this is the other part. Our doctors stop for very specific things. Cuts over the eye, and I'll tell you what, they're either really bad or they're not. Like, once you get cut, you're cut bad, and once you're cut bad, it's over. Like, you're not. It doesn't go much further than that. So I see all of them the next day. I go to the airport with them every single day. I'm the one that brings them there the following day, and I hear the stories. And they're fine. They're perfectly fine. And the fighters explain how much they appreciate this style of fighting, because it's one discipline. I'll share a story with you too. Being in a lucky spot, Thiago Alves had his last fight with us. It was his last fight ever, and he even said he felt like he mailed it in a little bit. And I was supposed to take his whole team to the airport the next day, and we had about a 40-minute drive, to the airport. I go to pick him up. It's just him. Now, I'm a huge fan. I'm not a huge fanboy of MMA, but there are certain guys that their name value, and you know who they are. He's one of them. So he hops in, and he's cool. He's really cool. Like, some guys are quiet, they put their earphones on, you leave them alone, you drive to the airport. Other guys get in and they want to know your story, and they ask you questions, and then you start chopping up before you know it. Your friends. He starts telling me his life story. And it was like, I wish I had a camera, because it would have been on ESPN. It was such a great story. He was an immigrant, won a lottery to come over here when he was like 10 or whatever to train something or another. He got over here then the UFC happened. And then he got into the Ultimate Fighter, and then he got into this. He starts telling me like all this story. And again, I'm ruining it because I was like being a fanboy listening to it, that I couldn't log it all in my brain. But then we get to the airport. He's like, "All right, man, take off." Because that's funny. He goes, "I'm retired now." He goes, "Just back to school. I'll start training everybody else." He goes, "Goodbye." He leaves it. I sat in the car for a minute. I was like, "It's the greatest story ever." Because we watch as wrestlers, we know when someone's telling their story to listen to it and ask questions and deep dive that. And for him, he's just talking. And he got out of the car. I was like, "Man, that's a greatest story I ever heard," especially for an immigrant. It was just a cool story. So I get intimately involved with these people, in their camps and whatnot too. So like I say, I feel very lucky. I get to be part of something that makes me feel like I'm in wrestling, but I don't have to do any of the bumps. And I have a longevity here. I do great things for the company. The company does great things for me. There's only so many of us, and it's I got Google stock in '91 is how I feel.
And you got me curious now. So where can we see this?
You can see it on the Triller app, the Fight, if you call it Fight TV, whatever you call it. It's also on the BKFC app. That's where I would suggest going. That's your best price point. I think it's like $69 for the whole year, and then all the events except for specialty events are free with the app. The event this weekend, Sturgis, is free with the app. It's a numbered event. It's our 63rd numbered event. We also have fight nights, our prospect series, and fight nights. So there's 3 different style events, and then we have our bigger shows like Knuckle Mania. That you'd pay a premium. I think you pay like $39 extra a month or something along those lines. But yeah, BKFC app. If you're on my Facebook page at all, I have a link on there. There's a referral code. Obviously, you can help a boy out. But yeah, that's where I would check it out. It's a fun time to get involved with it. You don't have to know much. There's not a lot that carries over from show to show. Every show, there's a kind of a brand new crop of fighters, and you can hop on at any point, and then you start to know the people. And I'll tell you what, it's an awesome time. Eric Bischoff was just at our last show, sniffing it out too. So it's happening. Big stuff's happening.
Is it also on YouTube? Are there any matches available on YouTube?
The premium, all the prelims are always free on YouTube, so you can check that out. I'll search Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship on YouTube for that. Yeah.
What sort of lessons from wrestling do you apply to what you're doing at Bare Knuckle Fighting?
I don't know how much inside baseball I can go on this one, because it's part. I would say I'd be. I don't want to show the sausage is fully made, but I use it more backstage than I use it in front of the stage.
Like how? I mean, just
it's because like I look at it like this too. This industry is not the wrestling industry. So the way you navigate through the wrestling industry, it's not the way you navigate here. So I see things. If I'm playing chess and I'm doing this thing, I don't know if everyone's playing chess. So it's easy. I do this, I do this, I do this, and I took the king. You know, so like that's what I'm saying about this. This business is the taking for wrestlers because it's all wrestling industry stuff. You're on the road. You got to understand where the gym's at. You got to take care of people. You got to ask the fighters the right questions and leave them alone at the same time. You're playing a game, you know, and also you don't want to be seen a lot. You know, like I'm an office person that you don't see me unless I'm doing my job. I'm a ghost. I sit in my room or I go do stuff. You don't see me in the lobby hanging out or yelling and making jokes and smoking weed in front of the lobby and, you know, nonsense. You know, I'm a professional. So I would say like a lot of my stuff, like I say, I'm using it all backstage. All the stuff I learned being at Raw, being backstage for 12 hours, standing by a monitor, you know, like a jobber, you know, all that stuff. I use a lot more of that than I would say anything else. Oh, also knowing cues and knowing TV and knowing the pay-per-view and knowing when the lights come on and when they go off. I hop in the ring when they cut the breaks and I clean the blood up, you know, so I know how fast I can get in and get out, you know, and so that I use some of that in that way too, just knowing TV.
Interesting. Are you guys ever going to do a show in California?
We just did Pechanga Resort in Temecula, California.
Okay, well, that's not exactly a hop, skip, and a jump from where I'm at. It's the other side of the state.
Knucklemania was in L.A. proper. We were in L.A. and that was back in April. Those are the two shows we've done so far.
What about NorCal?
I don't book the areas, but I would assume by how well all the shows have done, they all sold out. I would assume we would be going up north.
If you ever do a NorCal show, I will come see it, you know, and it would be a good chance to see you again after 20 plus years. But so what is the future for you all about?
You know, that's a good question. I, for so many years, I've tried to navigate to make things happen, you know, and I think now in the future is just being, you know, I have little kids, you know, and I got to try to spend time with them as well too. And
how old's your oldest kid?
My daughter Sophia, she's 11. She'll be 12 in November, and my son is 7. He'll be 8 in November.
Yeah,
they share.
My twins will be 13 next month.
Oh, so
we're in the same. Yeah, we're in the same boat, basically. You know, as far as that goes. And I've seen some of your posts about your daughter, and it is very touching. You know, that your relationship with her, and that you've been able to, you know, be so close to her. And I thought it was very interesting that you were, you know, talking about all the things that you thought, you know, having a girl would compromise you, but instead she's been one of your best friends. You want to talk about that for a second?
Yeah, I think it's weird. You know, with like when you go to first have a kid, I think a lot of guys when they're going to find out. I don't know if you found out ahead of time what kind of, if you're going to have a boy or a girl. You know, I wanted to know. You know,
I had both. I had both. So what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Yeah, for me, I was like, when you initially you're gonna have a baby, you go, I hope I have a boy. I just, that was me. I think a lot of guys do, but that was for sure me. But then when I found out I was having a girl, I wasn't like, oh darn, you know, that wasn't the reaction either. I was like, okay, cool, I'm having a girl. You don't really realize until you get into it with her and she gets a little bit older and then she starts having little quirky things like you do and you can communicate a certain way and you realize the importance of, and I'm in the dating world too, so you can see the importance of, I could tell you a lot of females I've been out with that don't have great fathers in their lives. And it's an uphill battle, you know, so as a dad that has a daughter, our responsibility before anything else, I think, is showing her what a man is, you know, from an empathy standpoint, you know, also from a alpha standpoint, how to get things done, you know, and how to take care of them, you know, and love them and hug them and also let them sweeten you up a little bit. You know, it's a woman that's in your life that is pure love. It's a different kind of love. It's like your mother, you know, like your mother loves you a certain way. You know, your daughter loves you a certain way, you know, and you're, the first 5 years you have a daughter is the most important time, the 100% most important time. If you don't connect on that level, then you can still connect down the road, but you've missed it. You missed your opportunity.
Wow. So you know, you can tell us more about like what your plans are for the future and you know, anything that you think you would want to tell our listeners about, you know, anything you want to promote or plug other than the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, which does sound very exciting. Go ahead and let our listeners know.
Sure. I mean, you can find me on Facebook, Vito Tomaselli. I'm on Instagram and other platforms too, but that's the one where I think I interact the most. You can check me out there. I would also say this, give BKFC a shot. This Saturday is going to be awesome. It's free on YouTube for the beginning, the first, prelims. If you are a wrestling fan at all, this is the ambiance of Road Wild and Hog Wild. So this is that show for you. Check it out, and then let me know what you think of it. If you like it at all, obviously you can click through and buy it and everything else. But in the meantime, I'll just give it a shot. It's an alternative to everything you've ever seen before. It's fast, it's fun, it's sexy, it's exciting. And then lastly, I just think that anybody that's going through some stuff out there, know you're not alone. I think it's helpful to reach out to other people, but you got to get up and you got to make the choices for you, and because you got to be your biggest cheerleader.
Wow. Any other thoughts, Evan? Anything else you'd like to ask our guests for tonight?
Since bare knuckles fighting is kind of in its infancy, I would gather, how far can these fighters take this? I mean, in boxing, a lot of guys do not end well, and then there's guys who make millions upon millions of dollars. It's real extremes in the boxing world. How far can the bare knuckles fighters take their careers?
Well, I don't know if I'm talking on turn or if I understand it the same. Boxing, there's a lot of different leagues and people and management teams and red tape and all sorts of weird stuff. We're bare knuckle. So we house everyone to come fight here. So therefore you will, the more you can get paid as much as you want to get paid if you win. You come in, you start knocking people out, you start making it important, and then your impressions go up online, and then the hits go up online. The money comes to you. That's one thing you can read about bare knuckle. They have no problem paying people, none, zero. But they will also pay little bits of money. I mean, everyone's going to pay little bits of money to the bottom fighters. But with us, that bottom fighter can have 1 or 2 really good fights, and he's now main eventing. And you have seen that bottom fighter might have 5 wins in a row, 10 wins in a row, 15 wins in a row, and he's still on fight nights because it's such a deep roster of people. Right. So if you have any ability or you're any kind of fighter at all, and you can use your hands, this is a place. Kai Stewart's one of our fighters, and I go out of your way to find out, to look up Kai Stewart. Wrestler, not a pro wrestler, a high school wrestler, college wrestler, very, very extremely talented wrestler. It's one of the best hands ever, and now he's a bare knuckle champion. And he's proven he's beaten boxers, and he's one of our top guys now. So it's an easier route from a perspective of how many people you have to go through to get noticed, but it's not simpler. I mean, it's a problem. You still got to knock people out. You still got to look talented. You still got to look good doing it. But I'll tell you what. I've seen people be humbled in 30 seconds. 30 seconds where they come in all fight week. They're loud. They can't wait to get in there. They got all this background noise behind them. They're really talented. They got a whole mess of wins. And in 30 seconds, they don't know why they're here. And they want out. They're done. They want out. It's quick. It's quick.
I can imagine so. Well, Vito, my only real regret is that I waited 20 years before having another conversation with you. And I don't want it to be another 20. So sure. When there's a big event coming on with bare knuckle fighting, or if you guys ever do a show in Northern California, or even you're doing something in New York, you should let us know so we can help promote bare knuckle fighting. I'd be excited if we could, be an affiliate of bare knuckle fighting and help spread the word about it, because it does sound like an exciting new sport for everybody. Well, it's not new. I mean, it's been around for forever, but
it's been around for a long time. But we're getting, I would say, from a mainstream standpoint, we're like brand new babies. It's happening now. And then we have the back catalog where you can check it out. And, again, I say ECW. It's like you found it when Taz and Shane Douglas and Rob Van Dam and Jerry Lynn, you're like, this is awesome. Then you turn, like, this has been on for 4 or 5 or 6 years. Wow. Okay, let me look at the backlog now. That's where we're at. It's
nice.
Fascinating.
Nice. Well, I really appreciate you being a guest on tonight's show. It's great to catch up with you, Vito, and it's really good to see how you're doing and knowing that you're in the right direction, and we're all pulling for you, and really great to see you again. So hopefully we'll see you again soon. Thank you very much for being on.
Thanks so much.
And we'll see everyone next week. Good night, everyone.